All right, welcome back to the Soul Fresh podcast. We got a special presentation today. I brought a buddy of mine. We're gonna talk about one of my favorite things is guns, weapons, firearms. So we're gonna go ahead and bring a guy in. He's got a great business, but also he has a great advocate of gun safety. So we came out here to the range today, special Soul Fresh podcast event. So we're gonna come out here and do a little bit of training, and we're gonna also have just a conversation about weapons, guns, firearms, different classifications, but that's why we're gonna bring him on as far as to see how we're gonna identify what's the proper language to identify these things that we're gonna talk about. So without further ado, we're gonna bring in my buddy, Tyrone Gilbert of Action Armory.
How y'all doing today?
Hey, what's up, Tyrone?
What's up, bro?
Not a whole lot. Hey, been a minute,
Yes, sir.
man. Yeah, I've been.
Glad to be on the range.
Yeah. All right, so first, let's go ahead and talk about, before we talk about why we're here today, let's talk about let's talk about the name of your business. What is the name of your business?
Action Armory. Been in business since 2017.
Okay, and what was that catalyst that sparked you to say, you know what, man, I want to get a gun business? Because let's be clear, tell the folks that it's not just a gun business, but you do other things as well.
Right. Originally, in 2017, I started Action Armory out of, it was actually training. I started training in 2017. And so in order to curtail that a little bit, I wanted to teach people how to properly handle a firearm.
Okay, and so what you're telling me is that you are also a certified trainer.
Right.
But also, do you sell weapons?
I also sell guns.
Okay,
right?
what kind of guns do you sell?
I sell all types of guns. I sell semi-automatic firearms. I sell shotguns, AR-15s, hunting rifles, revolvers, just all different types of firearms.
Okay. All right, so real quick, so do you mind if we go ahead and get into a little quick, start off with the basics on firearm safety before we start shooting?
No, actually, I love firearm safety. So the basics are pretty much what we call the fundamentals of shooting, which is your hold control, your trigger control, and you got follow through and your sight picture.
Right.
Once you get the fundamentals of shooting down, then you can actually hit your target.
Okay. Now, what type of weapons do you like to start people out on? You know, you got 22s, you got compact weapons.
Right.
What's the best thing for man or woman to say, you know what, I never shot a gun before. What is the first gun that I need to practice on?
You know what? I always call it the fun gun, and that's the 22 fun gun, the 22 caliber. Simply because with a 22 caliber, you can it's easy for you to work on your fundamentals.
Right.
Once you work on your fundamentals, and if you decide to upgrade from there, then you can upgrade to the next bigger caliber of firearm.
Gotcha. All right. So, do you mind if we go ahead and do a little first drill before we start making it go pop? Let's go ahead and go into some drills as far as some first basic firearm safety drills.
Exactly. All right. So,
what weapon are we gonna start off with first?
Let's start off with the 22 fun gun.
22 fun gun.
Yeah. So let me grab that file.
Right,
What I have here, like I said, I like to start off with the 22 caliber, simply because it's easy for you to work on your fundamentals without all the recoil and a lot of the noise. So what I have here is a Glock 44. And basically, before you start shooting, you want to always start off with your ear protection and your eye protection. That's some of the basic things you want to do is protect your ears and protect your eyes.
And we are not sponsoring this product, but ironically, we both have the same ear protection, which I love these. These are Impact Sports. Right. So these allow you to be able to still hear what's going on around you because it has almost like a microphone. Not a two-way directional microphone, but a microphone where you can kind of hear everything when you're out in the shooting area. But the good thing about it is, as soon as that gun goes pop, it automatically mutes it, so it protects your ear.
Yeah, it dampens the noise.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like these because when I train, you never know when you train a group of people, you might experience a misfire, and you won't hear that misfire if you got on a certain type of earmuffs. But with these, you can actually hear when a gun malfunctions.
Okay. And all right, so like first off, let's go over the first basic thing as far as holding the weapon. A lot of people get this misunderstood, and you can always tell a person who is not used to holding the weapon, the first thing they do is what?
First thing they do is put their finger on the trigger.
Holding it like this, like, hey, man,
Yeah. And that's actually where a lot of firearm incidents come from, because the finger automatically goes in the trigger, the gun is loaded, the person don't know that the gun is loaded, and pop, the gun goes off.
Yeah.
So one of the first things you want to do, one of the basic safety rules you want to do is always keep your finger off the trigger. So a couple more safety rules, and we can think of tons of safety rules, right?
Right.
So you always want to point the gun in a good direction, in a safe direction. In our situation today, the safe direction is going to be down range, right? And as y'all can see, we're shooting into a pile of dirt here, so we're not going to be, not shooting into thin air.
Right.
Yeah, and you always want to know your target and what's beyond your target. So if we're shooting at that target right there, let's say for instance, there's a human or a gas bottle or something like that behind that target. Well, obviously you don't want to shoot at that target, because you want to know your target and what's behind or beyond your target. So we can think of tons of safety rules. Always keep the gun unloaded until you're ready to shoot.
That's correct.
Yep.
And give us a quick demonstration before we go ahead and start shooting on that proper position to hold your weapon.
Okay. So what you want to do when you hold your weapon here, I got a firearm here. You want to take your support hand, which is your non-shooting hand.
This is the Glock 44, 22 caliber, as you can see. And I always hold a gun like that.
I always hold the gun, and then that way you hold it down. As you can see, there's no magazine in it. The slide is back, so I can physically look inside the chamber to make sure that there's no bullet in the chamber. So this is actually just like a paperweight right now.
And one of the things, not to cut you out, one of the things that you got me into doing years ago was, I even do it when I'm by myself. When I'm racking it back and I take the clip out and I know that it's clear, I automatically verbally yell out, clear.
Clear, right.
Just so I know, even if I'm by myself, I just say clear, just so I can remember that, okay, I cleared this weapon.
Yeah, and that's a good thing to do too, because one of the things we train at Action Armory is we train muscle memory. And if you train muscle memory or verbal memory, then you're always going to practice those safety steps.
Okay.
And what I mean by muscle memory is, first step of firearm safety is always keeping your finger off the trigger. So pretty much when I start my classes, or when I do a basic firearm safety class, every time one of my participants fire the firearm, I require them to remove their finger from the trigger until they ready to shoot again.
Okay.
And that works on their muscle memory.
Okay.
Yep.
All
So
right.
what you pretty much do is you take your support hand, which is my non-firing hand, and you place this firearm in the V of your firing hand. And as you can see, the gun is pointed down in a safe direction. And pretty much your fingers off the trigger, guns pointed down in a safe direction, and you want the web of your hand high on what they call the beaver tail. Yes.
All right, so now let's go over, we're gonna go ahead and start the shoot. So what Tyrone's gonna go ahead and show you is also proper stance. Now, what proper stance do you like? Is there a certified, this is the only way you should be standing, or is it based on how do you feel? So you have the crotch, low stance, but then you also have, I guess, some people do 1 foot forward,
right?
Ready stance.
Right.
So what do you, as somebody who is new to shooting, what do you recommend a proper stance?
You know what? When I train my participants in the class, a proper stance is always a comfortable stance and everybody's different. So as you stated, the crotch position where your feet are shoulder length apart, and you're kind of in the crotch position. Some people do shoot with 1 foot in front of the other. So it's whatever position is comfortable for that person.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Let's put on our ear protection. Let's go shoot.
All right. So What we're gonna do, as you can see, I got my feet shoulder length apart. The firearm is unloaded, finger off the trigger, which is one of our basic safety rules. And we're gonna load the firearm, charge it.
Range is hot.
Hot range. Cold range.
All right, so that was the 22. Now, ironically, that one sounded like it got a little bit more kick than the 9mm.
Actually,
I mean, it was louder than I expected.
yeah.
And you know, I shoot 22, but that one right there was popping.
Yeah. It was a little loud, but if you notice when I was firing the firearm, the gun didn't jump much.
Right.
The recoil wasn't there. And that's the reason why I call the 22 the fun gun, because you may get the loud noise, but the recoil is not there, which is allow you to practice your fundamentals.
Okay, and so then we're gonna, for each weapon that we shoot today, let's go ahead and give it a good rating. So as far as home defense, what do you rate that 45, that Glock 45, or let's just go ahead and say the 22 caliber?
For home defense, you know, I wouldn't necessarily put a 22 caliber firearm as home defense. Mm-hmm. You know, the ironic part is that ages ago, not too long ago rather, mm-hmm. a lot of people was using a shotgun for home defense.
Right.
Of course, you know, but now people are starting to move towards the AR-15.
Yeah, and I saw that. We're gonna talk about that later when we get to that series of weapons. All right, so next, so we're gonna go to the next caliber, which is the Glock, but that's the brand. But we're gonna go to the 9mm.
Okay.
So the 9mm is one of the weapons that I pretty much use mainly as far as my carry weapon. So I have two now. One of the ones that I'm going to probably switch to as my typical carry weapon is the Glock 19. But what I have here today is the Glock 17. This is a fan favorite of mine. It packs 17 clips, one in the chamber, and I really like this weapon. So what are you using today as far as your side piece?
What I like to use, Brian, I'm a little bit different from you. What I like to use is the Sig Sauer P226.
I like the
single
Sig.
action, double action firearm. And the reason why I like this, I like it because it's a single action, double action firearm, but it does carry a punch. It carries about 20 rounds in one magazine. And it also has a decocker. So if I'm not ready to shoot, I can always decock the hammer on this firearm.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, over the years, I've become a fan of the Sig. So I think going forward, pretty much the rest of my weapons are going to be probably Glocks and Sigs. And one thing I like about the Glock, and once again, they are not sponsoring this podcast or sponsoring this video, but I like it the simple fact that you should always clean your weapons.
Right.
And we'll get into that next. But the Glock is more reliable. As far as you can not clean that thing for a year, dump it in some mud, drop it on the ground, get some sand in it,
yeah.
And guess what? That thing on fire.
It's gonna shoot.
Now there's another brand that I had a long time ago. It was a 40 cal, and
I remember that.
No, it was a 45.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Slightest little bit of dust,
get in it,
anything, that thing is gonna jam. It's gonna jam on me.
Let me piggyback off of you when we're talking about brands of firearms, right? And so each brand is different in their own making. So the brand that you had, slightest little dust, it wouldn't fire.
Right.
The better the quality of firearm is, the better the reliability of it, right? So some firearms don't like specific types of ammo. Some firearms don't like dust, mud, things of that nature. And you want some firearms, if you don't clean them every 200 rounds, the gun's not gonna fire.
Right.
So maintenance is very important with any firearm, but let's take a Glock for an example, or a Sig Sauer for an example. You can probably shoot 2,000 to 5,000 rounds out of that gun and without cleaning it, and guess what? It's gonna fire. There's no doubt in my mind that it won't fire.
Gotcha.
Yep.
All right. So let's go ahead and take a stab at it. You're gonna shoot the Sig, and I'm gonna shoot the Glock 17.
Okay,
All
so
right.
let's put a twist to it, Brian. What I want to do is I want to shoot the Sig, but I want to also demonstrate how to clear a malfunction.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a dummy cartridge into my firearm. In fact, I'll let you put the dummy cartridge into my firearm. That way I won't know where it's at and I won't be expecting it. But I want to show people how to properly clear a malfunction.
Okay. Let's suit up.
All right, so what I'm about to do is I'm about to demonstrate, as you can see, I got my feet shoulder length apart. I'm going to be shooting in a crouch position, but I'm going to demonstrate something that I teach in my basic firearm safety class, which is how to clear a malfunction. So there's two ways you can actually do it. The safe way is to drop the magazine and pull the slide back in order to release the malfunction bullet. But but I'm not going to do it that way. I'm going to do it whereas I'm just going to pull the slide back and allow the malfunction to clear itself. Hot range. By the way, Brian loaded my magazine, so I don't know where this malfunction ammo is going to be, but we'll get it figured out. Hot range. Uh-oh. All right, that's it. So as you can see, there was a malfunction that I experienced, and pretty much the gun went click when I knew that it should have fired, and I immediately just cleared that malfunction round simply by pulling the slide back, which ejected the malfunction bullet.
Ready?
Ready.
All right, so that was pretty fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
you had the dirt jumping down.
yeah. So, but then let's get into some things as far as misconception about, firearms. I think I just personally feel a lot of times, in this country, when they see that, black men, young black men that are involved in firearms, then that has some type of negative to that having a firearm. Like I told you one time when, I carry in the open, but I have mine concealed, but I think the guy saw it or whatever. I think I may have lifted up my shirt real quick. And so, he was, asking me like, man, cuz, what you gonna do with that? You ain't gonna do nothing with that, you know?
Right.
I was like, of course I'm not. And I shouldn't have to.
Right.
But as you know, the main slogan, it's better to have it and not need it
Than need it
and not have it.
and not have it.
Right. So that whole thing made me think about, like, sometimes I think people look at us as far as when we have weapons or if we carrying out in the open or whatever, that, it's got to do with streets. When really it's all more or less about protection.
Right.
I'm practicing my Second Amendment right. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
You know what? It's kind of, my thoughts were when I was a kid, right? Guns were considered a taboo pretty much in the black community.
Exactly.
Meaning that don't touch it, don't look at it, don't do anything with it if you see it, right? And it's true, we don't want our kids to touch guns. But, however, we're in 2023 and we are citizens of the United States, and it is important that as citizens we do practice our Second Amendment right.
Right.
So just the taboo, that's something I think the tide is starting to change, because more blacks have purchased firearms since 2020 and even more so women are now starting to purchase and carry firearms now. So that tide is starting to change a little bit.
Now I was going to ask you that, as far as the people that come to you, what is the percentage as far as, do you see a drastic change in blacks purchasing firearms?
Absolutely.
So what do you think that is for? Is that because of the society that we're living in today, or that we're becoming more conscious of the things around us and that, okay, we have these same rights as well?
I think it's mainly because of the society that we live in today. The world is dangerous, and people are starting to wake up to what's going on around them, and therefore they're wanting to protect themselves and their family.
Gotcha.
So I think it's mainly because of society.
Okay. And so now we just recently had another school shooting. It was in UNLV.
Right.
And
That was yesterday.
yeah. And so, of course, now we've had a bunch this year already, which I always say, for some reason, when they get close to election time,
Get crazy.
it get crazy, and you start having more mass shootings, which I always feel I feel like that's some type of agenda to push the agenda of gun control.
I think that too.
So now, what are your opinion on gun control?
Gun control.
As an advocate, gun owner, and gun lover,
You know, that's kind of a tough question because gun control is a touchy subject when we're talking about it, right?
right?
So, me being an advocate of firearms and teaching basic firearm safety training, obviously I wouldn't just teach it to anybody, specifically a felon, right?
Right.
They're not allowed to be around guns or have guns. So, you know, there's no, when you think about it, is there such thing as gun control? Because you and I, as law-abiding citizens, and we're able to practice our Second Amendment right, but if they take away our guns, then who's gonna have the guns? The criminal,
Right?
right? So where does that leave us?
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Vulnerable.
vulnerable. We're never gonna be able to actually get rid of guns, right?
Yeah.
They're just gonna be able to maybe protect or maybe make it hard for a law-abiding citizen to get a gun versus a criminal.
Now, I'm an advocate of guns, and I feel like you shouldn't. I have the right to carry one and have one, so I really feel like no one should take that away from me.
Right.
But what do we say to those people that have that argument that, well, in other countries that have stricter gun laws or have no guns at all, their crime rates are different versus you see we just got straight just chaos and madness in the U.S. You know, kids dying. It's become a pillar of the neighborhood in certain communities, Chicago, Miami, Louisiana, everywhere. You know,
Chirac.
Yeah, Chirac. So does that make sense for us to keep pushing that agenda? But then again, you see other countries probably don't have those same problems that we're having.
You know what? The ideal thing behind that is, so if let's just imagine, if we will, a world without guns, right? And somebody wanted to harm you in whatever way. What can they use to actually harm somebody? Can they use a pencil? Can they use some keys? Can they use a vehicle? Can they use a pipe bomb? I mean, we went from the smallest little thing as a pencil to a pipe bomb or a vehicle to harm somebody. So that's people getting hurt and getting killed. That's gonna happen, right? Because you still have knives and bats and things of that nature.
So, all right, now moving on to home defense again.
All right.
We talked about two other weapons. You talked about the shotty,
Right.
and the AR-15.
AR-15. Yep.
Which one we gonna shoot next?
You know what?
I brought my shotty, so.
I like to try that out.
The shotty?
Yeah.
Okay.
But you know, okay, yeah, let's try out the shotty.
All right, now, is there any particular way to hold a shotgun?
You know what? It ain't. You know, I like to, some people like to carry it, hold it shoulder their shotgun. Some people like to shoot it from the waist.
Gotcha.
So
All right.
it just really depends.
Let's go get some shotguns.
Let's do it.
All right, so we got the shotguns. As you can see, I'm using the 500 Defender, the Mossberg. And as you can see, I have taken the grip off of it and put a pistol grip. So as you said earlier, this is one that you don't want to try to shoot like that, and you will see why. And also, with this one, you're gonna need to have a little bit of strength in your wrist because after a while, that wrist is gonna start recoiling.
Yeah, and in fact, that's why I also got the Mossberg Defender, but I took the pistol grip off of mine, and I prefer to use the butt.
But yeah.
For the simple reason that if you can't hold that one to your face, like you can this one.
Right.
Right, because if that one comes back, it's gonna pop you right. You're gonna get a black eye.
Now, I have several different shotguns, but I brought this one because we were gonna have this discussion on home safety, home defense. And the reason why I took the butt off of mine because it was a little bit longer.
Right.
And I want more access
To get around the corner.
to get around the corner.
Yeah.
So I keep it short.
Right,
You know, so that was the reason why I went with the pistol grip. And you know, I have big hands, and as you can see how small this grip is, with my hands, I have a little bit more control as far over the entire weapon because this thing can kick.
Right.
Big time.
Yeah, it kicks. It's got a kick to
It's
it.
got a kick.
Yeah.
So hopefully in a home defense situation, and hopefully you won't ever have to, but if you do, hopefully you won't even have to fire this thing no more than 1 or 2 times. As like Dave Chappelle say,
Not a lot.
Let's talk about that as far as the order you should put your rounds, because you want to pepper them up first, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And then you want to pepper them again, or do you want to go ahead and just call it quits?
You know what? For home defense, the way I put my rounds is I go buckshot, buckshot slug, buckshot slug, buckshot slug. So
I do buckshot slug, buckshot slug, slug.
Oh yeah, so you give them slug twice.
Twice.
You gonna do them
Hey,
again.
if you're still moving by 4,
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and seal the deal with
That's right.
with that last slug.
Yeah, and you know what? And the thing about the buckshot slug is, you know, if it's more than one person with the buckshot, you finna hit both of them.
Right,
And
yeah.
the slug just gonna do just one of them in. He's just not gonna make it.
All right, let's go shoot.
All right. So when I shoulder my firearm, I pull it back toward my shoulder where it got a good connection, so I pretty much got 3 points of contact on my body, of my 2 hands and my shoulder. So, you ready? Yep. Hot range.
All right, we're going to shoot that same weapon, just with a different butt. And you'll see the difference of the recoil and the kick. And I like to hold mine a little bit lower because with this one, you definitely don't want to do that.
You don't want to do that.
All right. Hot range.
Hey.
See, that's why I say.
Cock.
Hey.
Yeah, this is the Panzer
I love that one.
AR style 12 gauge shotgun. Comes with a 10 round, 5 round magazine. Hot range. Uh-oh. It help if I take the safety off. See, as you can see, you don't have to manually cock that one as you got to do the Mossberg 500, the breech.
I like that. I only put 3 rounds in it, just wanted to shoot it. I really like this. Hardly no recoil. Probably about the same amount of recoil that the AR-15, had, honestly.
Right.
Because that shotty, that was about to dislocate my thumb.
Hey, man, actually, my shoulder was hurting from
Yeah,
that thing.
that's
man.
why I say with the shotty, I hope too often you won't ever have to use that. But in a home defense situation, it'll come in handy for a couple of rounds, and hopefully you're done with that. But this right here, I have one as well, not this brand, but I do have an automatic shotgun. So you gonna come on out here?
Oh yeah.
I do like the fact of the automatic.
Yeah.
You don't have to rack.
Or remember to rack.
Yeah, because sometimes if you're in a heated situation or whatever, you probably, especially if you go to the range a lot and you're always shooting automatic weapons.
Right.
And you just forget to rack.
You forget to rack.
Yeah.
And that happens often. And that's, you know what,
even sometimes I forget the rack.
Yeah.
A shotgun.
Well, I did it earlier.
Yeah. Yeah. And so if you don't train with that firearm all the time, obviously, you're going to forget those things.
Right.
And that's why they made this semi-automatic right here, which you don't have to rack, and it operates similar to an AR-15.
Okay. All right. So we back, about to shoot a little bit something bigger. Going with the AR-15. As you can see, I dressed mine up a little bit. I added a pistol grip or a hand grip to it, front end. Of course, just for aesthetics, got a little red dot on it. Also using the flashlight as well at the bottom. I'm using the red dot, also has a green dot sight. This one actually probably needs to be sighted. I hadn't sighted it in a couple of months. So let's talk about yours.
I got the Colt. It's Colt 5.56. I got the quad rail. I like to keep this AR-15 just fairly simple. The only thing I have on here is a Trijicon ACOG sight. It's a 3-point sight. It's got the red dot sight. It's got the iron sights, and it also have the range on here.
All right. So now when we're talking about home defense, people look at this like, you're going to use this for home defense, being that it's so big.
Right.
So why do you suggest this one as being in the category for home defense?
More rounds.
Yeah.
Whereas, you got the shotgun.
Let's be specific. How many rounds we got on this one?
30.
30.
We got 30 rounds. Whereas a shotgun, you may be able to get 6 or 7 rounds in it.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I call the shotgun a reconstruction tool.
Right.
Because you're going to do some damage inside your home as far as walls and furniture and things of that nature.
Yeah.
But with this, you can be a whole lot more accurate, and you got a whole lot more rounds to work with.
Right.
Yep.
All right, so now, as far as training, what is the best way to train with the AR-15? What kind of techniques or tactics, as far as do you have with the AR? As far as holding it, position, when we're talking about, I guess, clearing a house.
Right.
So you're saying in a house you have more options, more potential to shoot around like this, right?
Right. You have.
Now you suggest stock out or closer in so you can be tight.
That's really
Preference okay.
Pertaining to a person. The thing I would recommend on any person to whereas is transitioning.
Mm-hmm.
When you train with an AR-15, you also want to train with your handgun because you never know when you might have to transition from a handgun to an AR-15 and back to a handgun again.
Right. All right. Now, a lot of people consider this one the big bad wolf because the narrative, every time we have a shooting or something, a school shooting or whatever, this is pretty much the culprit of this weapon.
Right.
So now, is it the weapon or is it the individual?
It's definitely the individual.
Mm-hmm.
As we talked about earlier, man, we got some, the society we live in, it's a dangerous world. You just don't know what's going to happen on any given day.
Right. And I feel personally like if somebody was to, want to cause harm to anybody and they had a Glock 17 or Glock 19 that holds 17 rounds or the Sig that holds 20 rounds, you can do just as much damage, especially if you're proficient with that weapon.
With that firearm. Like my Sig, again, it holds 20 rounds. And if I got 4 magazines, we're talking about 80 rounds. That's way more than a AR-15.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, and that's kind of one of the reasons why I brought you out here to talk to you is to see if we can, just help change that narrative that, let's not forget, this is also actually a sport.
Right.
It
is. They call it a modern sporting rifle.
Yeah, it's a modern sporting rifle, but just the whole idea of firearm training or just going to the range is an actual sport. We come out here, you can, for me, I come out here, man. I'm a member of this private range as well, and this is a stress reliever.
Yeah.
You had a long week, and you come out here and make a few things go pop, pop.
That's what I was thinking while you was talking about that, because, one thing, I call it gunpowder therapy.
Gunpowder therapy.
I actually want to coin that term, right? Because when after I finish shooting, after a long week, I'm kind of like, man, I feel good.
Yeah.
And that may sound strange to other people.
It does, because they look at it like, oh, you being violent and deadly is a stress reliever. No, we're not.
It's not necessarily being violent. You just relieving some stress by, at the range.
Yeah.
So it's definitely gunpowder therapy.
Yeah.
Yep.
And honestly, target practicing, I mean, it's kind of freaking fun. And honestly, as you know, you've been doing it a lot longer than me, and I believe you got me into it like about 20 years ago,
Yep.
15 something years ago.
Yeah.
And guns is almost like a tattoo.
Yeah.
Once you get one, you just keep going, and then it's
Yeah.
like, so people keep asking me like, why you got so many weapons? It's a sport. It's fun.
I got an easy answer for that.
Yeah.
Because you got so many firearms, and we don't call them weapons, right? We
Yeah,
call them
I'm sorry. Yeah, I've
firearms.
been saying weapons and
Yeah,
firearms.
But you got so many firearms because your needs change, right? If you have like you said, you had a 45 that you get sand, a little piece of sand in it wouldn't fire. So your needs changed, and then you got another firearm, right? And then, okay, so I'm gonna get me a shotgun for home protection. Well, guess what? People not using shotguns anymore simply because the amount of rounds that it carry. Guess what? You upgrade to a AR-15. So as your needs change and as you start to get proficient in every firearm that you shoot, then you're gonna want another one or another caliber or something like that.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, let's go shoot them.
All right, let's do it.
All right, so what I'm gonna attempt to do, this is one of the things that I like to practice, one of the techniques I like to practice at the range, and that's pretty much going from transitioning from a modern or sport rifle, an AR-15, to my sidearm, and back to an AR-15. And the more you practice, the better you get, right? And one of the things we got to remember is you got to train how you fight. So let's attempt that. Hot range. Toe it up. Man down.
Man, cold rain.
Cold rain. So now we want to talk about holsters. If you're gonna buy a firearm, and particularly if you're gonna carry that firearm on your person, so now you want to buy you a holster. Me personally, I have two types of holsters. I have a outside the waist holster, and I also have an inside the waist holster. And with each holster is a different training dynamic, right? Because if you got this holster inside your waist and you got a shirt on, obviously you're gonna have to learn to remove your firearm in a dangerous situation so as to not shoot yourself. And that's the exact same thing with an outside the waist firearm. I really don't have a preference as to which one I use, but I mainly like to carry outside the waist.
All right, so now let's talk about the proper way to pull out your firearm.
Right.
People do it several different ways, you know, when you release. And also, the gun I am using, this is the Glock 17, and it is cleared. And so, when we're talking about pulling, a lot of people automatically pull straight out, right? Show us the technique as the proper way to pull.
The proper way to pull is, and this is one of the things that you do want to practice at the range, right? And the more you do it, the better efficient you get, right? So the proper way to do it is the way I typically like to train is I put one hand, my support hand on my chest, right? I grab my firearm and I pull it out. And when you pull it out, you want to turn that firearm towards your target and you want to punch it out, just like so. And then opposite on the way in. You bring it in, right? Turn it down and holster your gun. And sometimes you also want to do that, and it's very important to do that without looking down. And the reason why you don't want to look down, because now you have just taken your eyes off your target, which could be a dangerous situation.
Right. And if you notice, one thing he did when he went out and pulled it back in and went down, the biggest thing that we want to talk about today is what? Safety.
Safety, right.
So you always kind of want to have that, even if you got your eyes on the target, like Tyrone explained, that's one reason why you want to point that thing down, point that firearm down.
In a safe direction.
Safe direction.
Right.
So how important it is for everybody to know the safety aspect before shooting. Because as you know, you tell anybody, let's go to the range or whatever, they just want to go shoot something.
That's right.
But they might be like, wait, you got to take an hour, 2-hour class before we go shoot?
Yeah.
How important is safety and changing the life of somebody that's going to have a weapon?
Right. You know what? Safety is very important in all that we do, right? Even driving our vehicles, we have to be safe. Cooking our food, we have to make sure we're safe in our food, therefore we don't get salmonella poison. In guns, safety is very critical. And you know what? I get it all the time. Hey, let's go to the range. And me personally, I'd be like, no, I don't want to go to the range with you. Because guess what? I've seen how you act at the range, right? I monitored your safety. I monitored you shooting and not being safe.
Yeah.
So obviously, I don't want to be around that environment.
Right.
So yeah, safety is very important.
I brought a buddy out here with mine, and the first thing he did, and I had a whole conversation with him on the way up here about safety and directional of your firearm. And the first thing he turned around, because people don't really think. They automatically, they just talking to you like, hey, you got any more bullets over, you know what I'm saying? But he got it pointing at me. Now, his finger wasn't on the trigger, but the simple fact that it's
not pointed in the safe direction.
Yeah. And you know, you catch that, like, hey.
I got one better than that. You remember we did the class for the DNR?
Yeah.
And I had that old lady saying, you know, she was scared of guns and snakes. You remember every time she shot the gun, she was swinging it back like that towards us, and then she come up and then swing it back again. And we were like, wait a minute, no, that's not gonna happen. So.
And I think, and not to bash women or whatever, but I think sometimes women are good for that. So I had a female one time, and females are good for doing this. Right after they shoot, they want to look at you. They want to turn around and look at you.
And the whole body turn around with them.
How did I do? Like, no.
Whoa. Time out.
Lay that thing down, clear it, and put it up, and then talk to me.
Yeah.
So I think those are those things that create accidents. Where you have all these, I mean, I think actually like a couple of months ago, we had another, in Warner Robins, we had another accidental shooting. It was a 16-year-old girl in Perry. Remember that?
Yeah.
And they arrested the boy involuntarily manslaughter, but so he probably won't get in no trouble, but they called it an accidental shooting.
Yeah.
But
simply because he didn't know.
And that's what I think the biggest thing is. I don't understand, okay, first why the kids are playing with the guns and whose fault is that? So let me ask you this question. How do you feel about this woman that got arrested and tried and found guilty and probably has to serve 2 years, whose son went to school?
That was up north on the East Coast somewhere.
Yeah, went to school, he was 6.
Yeah.
Went and shot his teacher because she pissed him off, pissed him off. She didn't die, but he went and shot her, but they made the mom responsible.
This morning, the mother of the Virginia boy who shot his first-grade teacher will be in court. Deja Taylor expected to plead guilty to felony child neglect after her 6-year-old son shot and seriously injured Abby's Werner in January. Taylor's attorney says she reached a deal with prosecutors and could face up to 6 months behind bars.
Who do you think holds the responsibility?
The parent.
Exactly.
I think that's exactly what they should have done, because she was negligent in allowing, for one, her 6-year-old son access to a firearm, right? And then for 2, the firearm was loaded. So I'm kind of, I don't know what particular type of gun it was, but if it was a semi-automatic, a 6-year-old child does not have the strength to pull the slide back in order to charge that firearm.
Right. So what about these situations where you have a mass shooting? We just had one early in the year. We had so many to talk about.
Right.
But we had one early in the year, and he was a young kid, and it found out that the dad had just bought the gun for him. Who holds responsibility for that?
The parent.
Parent.
Simply because, firearm safety is
Now,
just...
the boy was at a good age. I think he was like 16, 17, 16.
Absolutely, but there's nothing wrong for a parent buying his child a firearm, right? But the reason why I hold the parent negligible simply because firearm safety does not start and end on the range itself. It starts at home. So that means if you got a firearm and it's at home, you either have to learn to properly store that firearm to where that child or that person can't have access to your firearm.
Okay, I got a little fun one for you to talk about this. So this weapon is clear. Now, I like this little bitty thing. So I got this one from Action Armory, Tyrone here.
Yeah.
I feel like this was a perfect weapon for a female, so I got this for my wife. Now, I'm not gonna tell y'all all my secrets and all my artillery and firearms, because I don't need y'all knowing all my secrets.
Right.
But let's just say this is one of many that my wife has access to that she has. And so I like this one because it has the built-in laser. As you can see, it's right here by the finger. All you just push that button, and it's ambidextrous, so it's one on the left and one on the right. So, and if it's right by your finger. So, as you can see, once you push that button, it comes on. What do you think about this one? This was you had a lot of these at one point.
Yeah, I had a lot of them, and I actually had it on sale. So make sure it's
Clear?
all right. It's clear. So this particular firearm, guess what? You can easily just slide this. And the reason why you bought it is because she can slide it down in her purse, or as males, we can slip it down in our pocket. And then especially, you probably won't even feel it. You probably feel like your wallet in there. And also it's got the laser on it. So it takes a lot of thought into from the iron sights. So yeah, I think this is a good firearm.
Now, I will still use this one as well. So like if I'm ever, like a lot of times in the summertime when I'm wearing like less clothes as far as when I'm going walking in the neighborhood, and I got on my gym pants, I will carry this on the inside waistband and have this one, because you barely feel this one when you have it on. Now, the only dislike about this one is old school to me, because it only has 7 rounds.
6, I was about to say 6 or 7, yeah.
7 rounds. So I'm not a really, as I've gotten more of an advocate of firearms, I don't like anything less than 17.
Right.
Yeah. So when I'm in the market shopping and I'm talking to him, I say, he already know what I'm looking for. Like, I need something 17 or better. So,
yeah. And you know what? The flip side of that is they're actually starting to make small handguns like that with not necessarily 17, but more capacity.
All right, so if you would like more information as far as on gun safety, gun training, I definitely want you to come out here and holler at Tyrone Gilbert of Action Armory.
Yep.
I'm gonna go ahead and let him tell you how you can get in touch with him and the process, his website, all his information, and take it away.
All right, thank you, Brian. I want to thank the So Fresh podcast for bringing me out here, allowing me to get some gunpowder therapy. And my name is Tyrone Gilbert. I'm with Action Armory. I can be reached at 229-232-1164 or actionarmoryus@gmail.com. So if you're looking for some gunpowder therapy, if you've been trained, if you want to brush up on some old skills, holla at your boy.
All right, appreciate you checking us out on this episode, So Fresh Podcast, coming out here to the range with Action Armory. Once again, make sure you subscribe on YouTube at the So Fresh Podcast. Hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, share it. Also, you can follow us on social media at the So Fresh Podcast on Instagram, TikTok, and also Facebook. Once again, that's the So Fresh Podcast. I'm your host, BK, and my guest today was Tyrone Gilbert of Action Armory. Holla at us. Now let's go shoot some more.